Greetings and salutations, friend. I am Jeremy Tank, and you are in the Manifest Design Experience. This is week 7, and we are clicking things away on my computer. We are taking the next step in our exercises and reviewing some more worksheets today. We are jumping in pretty heavily into 5 different exercises today, and these are well, first I'm going to talk about our interviews and why interviews are so important in what we are doing. We'll talk about the customer journey, and then we're going to start reviewing the business priorities, imagining business priorities under the values of revenue, awareness, and efficiency. Revenue, awareness, and efficiency. And the reason that these values in particular are selected is because these are the values that are proven to drastically move the needle for your business, both inside and outside of your business. If you've not actually gotten anything moving yet, awareness is fantastic. Revenue, of course, a business has to make money. And efficiency, is the inside way of just making everything better and cleaner and smoother, making sure that everything operates in a cohesive, holistic fashion. So let me go ahead and just jump right in. We're looking at probably a little less than an hour today. So, double time it or do whatever you like to get through these. I am going to go ahead and pick up my brand book. This is the book that I have been putting together with all of the exercises now that we have gotten to. You can see it's getting pretty full. I have a couple of blank pages because I'm copying the big post-it notes into this as soon as I finish with them. So I've left a few blank pages in here just to make sure I've got room to copy all the information in. And the reason that I want to get all of the information that we have gone through, all of the information that you've watched in these videos for the brand that I am developing into this brand binder, this brand book, is because, and I write it right on the front because I really believe in this, right up here, it says, this is a record of how we make brand decisions. And far too often in the companies I've worked for, in the companies I've worked with, in just people I've worked with, there's no real record of how they reach decisions. It's sort of through discussion, through agree and accept and move forward, but there's no record of how they came about that decision, how that perspective was decided. So that's really what we're doing with this entire tool here that we've created. It's a magnificent tool. I love it. And it's just going to keep growing the more that we start refining this stuff and putting it together, because this is the record of how we make brand decisions. So just a reminder, what I'm talking about, brand, that could be your business brand. It could be a product that you are creating, that you are putting out into the world. It could be a class that you are putting together in like Teachable or Thinkific or Kajabi. It could be your personal brand if you are an accountant, a coach, a consultant, a teacher, anybody like that who your personal brand really matters. It could be a service that you do. Again, accountants, coaches, all these guys, all of you, you are your brand. Your face that you put out there is what people see and learn to trust and come to you for your services. Similar for me. You are engaging with me, and this is me building my brand by helping teach you how important your brand is. And as we're going through this process, whatever business, focus, idea that you are concentrating on is the brand that you will be working on and building with all of these worksheets. I am working on an idea brand, which means that it doesn't exist. It's something that has been in the back of my head for a while, and I've just wanted an opportunity to flesh it out, to think about it a little bit more, to put a little bit more of a wrapper around it, like a little bow, kind of like a Christmas present, right? Just think about it a bit, because the idea that I'm working on, it is a health-focused retreat, a retreat that is centered around a piece of property that is like an old house or a castle with micro homes around there. It's a community building property, but also good for conferences and people coming out to learn from teachers and gurus. And it's a place where people can kind of get away from the city and come together. So that's what I'm developing. I would love if you shared in comments or in just a post, what is the brand that you are developing? What are you working on? What is this really, what is this building for you? Because the whole idea of what I'm working on, just so you can understand, is that I can actually take all of this, put it in a presentation and start showing it to investors to get feedback, to get momentum on my idea, to actually craft it into a potential future business. So hopefully what you're working on either has that potential or something you really enjoy. I was talking with a woman the other day, and she's written a book, and she's using this process to go ahead and flesh out like the feelings around that book so she can market it more easily, so she can talk to people about it more easily, and really just direct her audience in a more cohesive manner, and form a communication. Because brand, as I've shared with you, having a brand just means that you're creating an emotional feeling in your customer, in your audience, and somebody on the other side of it. And that's really the essence of relationships, right? We listen to one another, we communicate, and then we build something together. And that is really the essence of brand, as opposed to marketing, which is a service that you do to try and get someone to buy from you or to be interested in you. Brand is less interested in that. Marketing, exceptionally important, but having an idea of how you are impacting the world, and sort of the genre, the feel, the joie de vivre, the joy of the day. It's all of these pieces wrapped into one that really is the brand, and it makes it harder to put into words, and that's good, because when it's harder to put into words, it's more people that might actually interface with it. And we have the challenge of putting it into words. That was a whole exercise a couple weeks ago, right? Fun stuff. So the interviews, jumping right in today. The interviews are an important part of developing your business, your brand, your idea, your focus, because at some point you need to sell that idea, that focus, to somebody else. And conducting interviews, whether it's 5 interviews, 10 interviews, 20, 50, however many that is really a way for you to get in real connection with your audience, with your potential customers, and find out if what you think, what you believe is true, right? That's really what it comes down to. Am I thinking along the right lines, or am I mistaken? Because if you're mistaken, now is the time, before you launch the business, before you launch the brand, before you take the next steps of marketing and spending tons of money to get out there in the world, to figure out, are you actually on the right track? Is this something that is going to have potential? Or do you need to make a couple of adjustments, maybe just in the language or the way you think about things? This is the time to do that. I'm just going to read you a little bit, because I gave a sample post on the exercise sheet, and I'll go ahead and lift this up for you to see here. Interviews. So right here in the center is a sample post that, I mean, it's using the same sort of things we've talked about to start a conversation with the audience. And really, it starts with, can you give me advice? And there's a reason that I use the word advice. When you ask for advice, there was a recent study that shows that it's like 60% more likely to get somebody responding to you than feedback or comments. The word advice, the sheer semantics around the word advice, triggers people to want to give you advice. And if you are asking about something that is relevant to you and them, and they have an opinion, advice, the word advice, is even stronger than opinion, even though we all know everyone loves to give their opinion. So I start generally with, can you give me advice? I'm looking for, and in this case, for my brand, this health retreats idea, I'm looking for coaches, I'm looking for gurus, I'm looking for people who want retreats with groups of people, and they need to find a place to go that's away from the city, that's away from everything, that is inspiring and magical. So I'm looking for teachers who struggle with, and that's the next thing, who struggle with. And we've done a lot of work already as part of this process to figure out, what are their pains, what are they struggling with, what are they thinking about. So maybe I would write something like, who struggle with finding the right location to inspire your group, your followers. And feel is the next, because we want to really grab onto feeling words to help drive this. Because when someone reads that a word like I'm looking for, and it kind of describes them, okay, they'll pique a little bit of interest. Who struggle with it, immediately they start thinking, do I struggle with this? Is this something? Do I have a hard time finding places to do retreats that are all about health and really retreating away from the world, and feel, ooh, now here's the trick. Feelings are so independent, so personal. You know, we wrote down a whole bunch before that customers or potential customers or, you know, my teachers, my gurus, guys, that they might feel. So maybe frustrated because you can't find a place, or anxious because the time limit's getting narrower to try and find something for something you've already scheduled. So we want to name some sort of emotion that is the current state that they find themselves in, or that they may, you know, a little bit of an extreme version of that state. So just to get an idea of what you are looking for, who, how, why, you know, it's all part of in that statement. And then the next part reads, I'd like to listen to your challenges and understand what a great solution feels like to you. So this is really just all about you telling them, look, I don't want to do a lot of talking. I want to listen. I want to know, I want to understand what you're going through, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and asking them, you know, what does a great solution feel like? What does the optimal solution feel like? Because everyone has their own idea of what that is. And the more ideas that you can listen to and hear, the better chances are that you will create an amalgam of some kind that really celebrates each of those people and solves their solutions. The next part reads, it would mean the world to me to hop on a quick call, ask you a few questions, and get a real first-hand perspective. Or if you know someone that fits this description, please tag them below and introduce me. Comment below and I'll shoot you a direct message of, no, that's just the details of like getting them on a call. But really, it's telling them, I want to hop on a quick call, ask you a few questions, and gain a real first-hand perspective. That is telling whoever reads this that you value them, that you really truly seek their perspective as a change maker in this process. That is really important because most of the time, if you've ever hopped on one of these calls with somebody else, it feels like a sales call a lot of times. And while it feels like a sales call, it also feels really impersonal, like they aren't really listening to you. And I don't know if this is a factor of the scripts that are highly popular out in the world right now, or if it's just a function of the people that I have spoken with, but I've done dozens and dozens of these at this point, and I just find that really letting them know that you want that first-hand perspective, you want to listen to them and hear them, feel what they are going through, there's some empathy going on here, so that you can really feel what they're going through and give them the best solution. And then the trickiest part really is when you get someone on a call, what do you say to them that makes them give you the answers you need? So just to start you out, I gave you 10 questions down below here, and I think that these are great questions because they are open for the most part, but they're also really directed to what you're trying to get to. So the first one being, what are your biggest frustrations around, and there's a big blank there because you need you need to fill this in something that's relevant to you. For example, for my coach guru guy, it would probably be around what are your biggest frustrations around holding events away from the city that fulfill all your needs and more, right? When it comes to blank, what is your biggest fear when it comes to holding these events, when it comes to finding a property, when it comes to technology, when it comes to, see, we can go into all different areas here and explore even further what we would need to do to make sure that my particular audience member really feels heard, is getting all of the story out in the open so that we can craft the right message, the right timing for them. What else? What is the one thing you feel like you're missing about other properties, about other retreats that you've held, about, you know, I leave these open on purpose because you should be listening intently, active listening to whomever's on the other side of the call so that you can start filling in, you know, what are the challenges they are having? How can I craft these questions more so they're more direct to them? And at the end, I really like the coaching framework of help me fill in these blanks. This is the number 10 question. Help me fill in these blanks because it would really help me understand what you're going through, your life, these challenges. I want to go from blank to blank so that blank. And I love this. This is from the coaching world and the consulting world because everything to the coaches and consultants is really about transformation. They want to take someone from one state of being to a whole other state of being. And I think that every business is really in the process of taking someone through this journey in some way, because when you market to them, it is a service to make them the hero, to solve their challenge, to help them step up and do the next thing. So when we're asking somebody on the phone, help me fill this out. I want to go from, and that could be whatever the other person says. In my mind, my coach, my guru, my guy here is saying something like, I want to go from stressed and frustrated to relieved and ready to go, so that I can just show up at the resort, do my thing, and everybody gives me high reviews, right? That would be a really easy transformation statement. But it really is up to you listening. And I really highly suggest that you save these answers, write them down very quickly, and then put them into a spreadsheet in Excel or in Numbers if you're on a Mac. Because when you put these in a spreadsheet, then you can easily just glance through them and see how many of the answers are common, see if there's any trends. You can crunch numbers if you get numbers on some of this stuff, like how much would you pay for this sort of thing. But other than that, if you are putting it into a spreadsheet, then it's great to just keep building that spreadsheet so you can identify trends, you can identify changes, and you can really start to quantify the things that you're talking about and thinking about. So that's interviews. And you don't have to get interviews done at this point in time. I find that doing 15 to 20 interviews in a month can be a bit of a strain. It can be a bit of a push on top of your other work that you are doing. So take it as well as you need to do it. The next exercise is one of my favorite exercises, and this is the customer journey exercise. And I'm not going to go through this full customer journey exercise. It is a 3-page worksheet in the guides, and I highly recommend you either do some interviews first and then go through this, or go ahead and go through the entire customer journey worksheet and consider bringing it up during some of the interviews. That's the reason that I dropped both of these at the same time, because really there's some interdependence, there's some interplay going on, because the customer journey, when we talk about it, consists of a few different things, and the first one being awareness. And this is the reason we have Google, this is the reason we have Yelp, this is the reason we have, any search engine really, and all sorts of social anythings. And the reason that, heck, any store online has a search function, it's because you have to increase awareness somehow. How is somebody out in the world ever going to know that your brand exists, that your products exist? So the first step is really determining, how do they become aware of you? Is it through friends? Is it through referrals? Is it through social networking, social proof? Is it through ads that are out there? And if you can identify the source with, and this is the reason I say do interviews first, if you can identify the source of where people are becoming aware of your brand, your business, whatever that sounds like for you, then you can place ads there. You can place Google AdWords. You can target it. You can do all sorts of different marketing techniques to get in front of those particular audiences. The second part, that would be awareness, right at the top here. Second part is compare, because as you start to become aware of different products, services, competitors, alternatives, then one of the primary functions of the human brain is contrast. Really, we are programmed in a fundamental physiological way to look at different things and determine the level of contrast by comparing different aspects of it. And it's a survival mechanism. It's a fight or flight mechanism. It's a caveman mechanism to let us know what's safest, what is most out of range with our comfort zone, and what has potential danger for our future. And everybody compares, whether it is to different products that are in a line, or to products from the past, or to something that is just in our heads, what we think things should be. The next one is attract. And it's funny that attract is actually the third on the list, and I put it down here because the way that I have experienced the customer journey like this in the past is, when you become aware, you start to compare, because you start to find out how many alternatives there are to whatever it is you're doing. For example, there's a great example that I put in the guides, just written there, where McDonald's, in a certain sense, could be seen as a competitor to AMC in terms of where do you get your food if you're bringing a whole family to a movie theater? Do you stop beforehand or you just eat at the movie theater? And I chose AMC because they actually have like mini pizzas and hot dogs and some other food that could be considered actual dinner. Huh. Kind of like McDonald's. It could be considered actual food. Um, so that's the comparison, but that comparison can last for quite a long time before someone is actually ready to take the next step. There are, in comparing percentages of people and their willingness, their activeness to move and purchase something, only about 2 to 3% are actually ready to purchase, to buy right away. The rest of people, let's see, it's 10% are searching, looking, refining, thinking about buying, but not ready to buy. So that would be people stuck in the compare. That's about 10%. People who are absolutely ready to buy, ready to jump on the wagon or get whatever it is that you're selling. That's about 2 to 3%. The other 90%, by the way, they are all looking for communication, looking for education, looking to find out and learn more about you. They're still in the awareness category, and that is where branding is strongest, because branding helps them see colors, helps them hear content, helps educate them and build a relationship so that as their challenges elevate, as they face more in their life that they have to fix, they are already coming to the table with an awareness of what you and your brand provide for them. So the comparison cycle is actually much shorter. They might look at some other solutions and ultimately come back to the one that they know, like, and trust. Those are the three most important factors that we're trying to build through this entire cycle. And when they reach that point, that's when they reach the attract portion. And attract meaning offer them a deal, offer them a discount, or offer them a bonus, offer them something that interests them, exciting, give them an opportunity to leap up from that 10% to that 2% so that they are moving forward. So you're giving them an actual attraction point, something that moves the needle. In malls, it used to be, before the COVID hit everywhere, you might have remembered seeing like cheese being passed out in front of a store, or small Cinnabon pieces, or just small samples. And that's awareness. That was bringing people to awareness of what's going on in that particular store. And then if they walk, they might compare it with some other store or some other service or some other something there. You know, I imagine I walk into a mall and I see a Cinnabon and I'll take a sample of that, and I already know about Cinnabons, but that's delicious. And I walk down a little bit more and maybe I see a candy store, and that's where I build my comparison. Not a great comparison, but maybe then I turn around, I look back at Cinnabon, and they have a package of like 6 mini things, and all of a sudden I'm attracted, all of a sudden I'm switched, and I think I want to go ahead and go with that. The next step in the customer journey, let's see, so this is awareness, compare, attract, relationship. A relationship is just about opposite of the cycle of awareness, because a relationship is where they purchase. A relationship is where they're getting support, where they're receiving the products, where they're testing it out. Have you trained them? Like, all of this is part of building a relationship and building something that can foster you and them growing more and possibly doing more business together in some way. A lot of stores really took up what do they call it, like punch cards or frequent shopper cards or something like that. And when you do so many punches that you get something for free, that's a relationship building tool right there. That is something that draws them back over and over again. Maybe they get on the email list, and the relationship building tool is a weekly email that goes out with a coupon to bring them into the store. So that really is relationship building tools. And that is super important to make sure that it's not just a one-time sale. You know, what other things can you offer as part of your relationship to bring them back, to have them so excited to work with you or buy from you again that there's a reason for them to come back. And the reason it's opposite of awareness on here is that so many businesses have a one and done philosophy. They don't have good service, they don't have good products, and once you purchase it, even though you move through all of this to the relationship end, they just kind of falter at that point. And right after that, if you haven't faltered, if you are still continuing on this customer journey and you are dedicated to really service, because that's what we're talking about here, building a relationship through the brand, through service, through helping, through communication, then the next thing you should do, and it should follow pretty soon after the relationship portion, is sharing or asking for a testimonial, asking for social proof, asking it in post somewhere. And the reason is that 80% of consumers are more likely to make a purchasing decision if they've read a testimonial or social proof somewhere. It doesn't even have to be somebody that they know personally. And that's the reason that Yelp is so effective with all of their reviews, and because with all of that huge body of social proof from people going on and rating things, people love to give their opinion, right? That's all part of social proof. And if you do it right after the relationship cycle, or something that keep building that relationship, then the social proof is more likely to be positive because they haven't had a chance to reframe, think about, and compare what they thought the relationship should be to what it actually was. And that is a challenge if you wait too long before moving on to, hey, I'm glad you were a customer. Would you please write a review for me on Google? Right? It's just that easy. And the last one is surprise. Surprise is not necessarily have to go in this order. That's right. I don't have a tick for it up here. Surprise is something that is neglected in a lot of business. And surprise is something that is talked about in a few different branding books because it's a way to set one brand apart from another brand, taking the next step, taking a leap that really is just something nice for somebody as part of this entire process. And usually it's right in here that surprise kicks in. I tend to think of Tiffany's with all their fine products and all of the things that they do. They always provide really nice, that baby blue that is a Tiffany's blue. They always provide really nice bags, cloths, boxes that really chime in with it. Sometimes they'll have a cleaning cloth that goes with things. And that is really important and really nice. I've worked with some bakeries where when you order a dozen things, they throw in one extra baker's dozen, right? And that's not normal these days. But it's a heck of a surprise, and it's so nice when something small like that you're not expecting as the customer happens for you. It endears you to the relationship more, and there's a little bit of that reciprocity mindset going on. There's a fundamental caveman community building thing that when someone does something nice for us, we want to come back and do more for them. So when you offer some kind of small surprise, some sort of small bonus, or something that is better than you have talked about or thought about as part of the actual product that you are serving up, it builds the relationship more because it builds that warmth, that feeling of trust and likability in customers' minds. Now this is just really brief what you're going to get in that 3-page worksheet, and you really helps to go through that and to think about it tightly. I'm just ready to move on here. Because the customer journey is the story of your business. The customer journey is the story of how people find you, where they're going, what they're doing, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and then through the entire process of working with you, what that means to them. And when you think about it, everything from going to the grocery store to shopping off of Amazon has its own customer journey. And it has its own fulfillment points. It has its own points where people are asking for reviews. And it's something that we as consumers, as citizens, as participants in this capitalist society have simply become accustomed to. When we show up, we have to learn. At the grocery store, for example, if you go to the oatmeal aisle, you will stand there and compare all the different types of oatmeals, all of the different brands versus the store brand versus non-brand or commodity. And then you'll start comparing possibly even the sugar amounts or the fiber amounts, the protein amounts in different oatmeals. You will move on to, choose one ultimately and then pay for it. And then maybe you like it and you tell others, hey, this oatmeal is fantastic. I really think you should give it a try. I don't know what the surprise is for oatmeal. Maybe it's that it helps your blood pressure. Maybe you start to lose weight because you eat a lot of oatmeal. That would be a great surprise, right? But the customer journey is really anything you're shopping for, you move through this process. This is a mental process, something that we are trained into in our society. When I talk about the training that people go through before the age of 7, it is really a lot of this societal sort of thing where your brain is educated in how we operate as a community, how to look at things and compare, how to judge what to go with, what to prioritize in terms of the comparison, the contrast for the items that we want, and how to proceed and buy it. This is deep ingrained training in our society, so it's something we really need to think about to provide the best experience, the best customer experience that we can design and then create and offer to our audience, right? We are doing them a service by trying to create the best darn experience for them possible. I love that stuff. I love thinking about crafting like a journey that really gets people intrigued and helps them figure things out and serves them and serves the company. It gets me excited. It's fun stuff for me. Okay, so we're moving on to the 3 exercises that are business priority exercises. And the business priority exercises, let me go ahead and put down this easel a little bit. The business priority exercises are really the revenue, the awareness, and the efficiency. And you can really elevate any value that you choose to help your customers at this point. However, I've chosen these 3 because they make a huge difference for the business. If you can identify for yourself, for your brand and your business, your personal brand, areas where you can increase revenue, ideas, doesn't matter how far out they are, where you can increase revenue, decrease risk, right? There's always risk in being in business. By having multiple areas of revenue, you decrease risk on any one area because you are, you just have more options out there. And when you increase awareness about your brand, then more people are learning about what you do. More people are learning how you help them, how you serve them. And when you increase efficiency, then even if you are maintaining a static level at revenue, by increasing internal efficiency, you increase the amount of time freed up to work on other projects or to truly move the needle. So really, your profits can increase because even if your revenue stays level, by increasing efficiency, theoretically here, you should create a larger gap between what's spent, like money in versus money out, money in, money out. The more that you increase efficiency, the more it lowers overhead and you have a greater span to your profits. And that is something every business really wants. So, thinking about revenue for my health retreat here, what are the different things that I could do to create revenue? And if you have ideas that I can add to this list, by all means, add them to the comments. Tell me what other things I can do here. And that's where, this process works good for one person. Works great with 2 people, particularly if you've run it before. Works fantastic if you have a group of people, everyone chiming in with their best ideas. I love it. So here's what I've come up with for revenue. So we definitely have rentals, which are the individual micro homes, the places that people can rent and stay in. There's also, I figure, a couple of rentals in the main residence, whatever that is. Conferences, absolutely. So the tech side of that, the bringing people together side of that, that's definitely a revenue. I absolutely think that this place should have a restaurant or a catering sort of thing for everything going on. It's centered around the idea of health, so massage, acupuncture, lift this up a little bit, qigong, tai chi, pardon me, that stuff is all super important for me, for my mind, for holistic health, for treating ourselves right, for treating our body right. Maybe naturopath, maybe ND, because I think that stuff is great. And if somebody is sick, if somebody wants to go there and be treated for some kind, maybe we start to specialize in some sort of treatment. I love it. One-to-one guidance. I don't really know what that looks like or sounds like, but maybe there is like people go there and they want qigong, but just one-to-one. I think that's a good option if to sell just one-to-one time. Next is the bar or pub. You know what? It doesn't make a ton of sense in terms of a health retreat, as alcohol tends to work against some of the same biological, physiological factors that we're trying to foster here. But there's always a possibility something like that. And it's, you know, like all the other exercises we've done, if you have the idea, write it down. Don't spare yourself any grief. Just write it down. Get it out of your head. The next one is convenience store. And I thought of this because, you know, people living in these micro homes for a little period of time, maybe it's a couple of weeks, maybe it's a month or so, maybe they just like a little convenience store so they don't have to come in and eat at the restaurant, so they can just kind of stay in their little micro cottage for a little while. Seems fun, seems like a good idea. And by that same token, a clothing shop. You know, what if somebody was a specialist and they had these really nice clothes that felt really comfortable for this location, that really got you into the mood? Maybe it's silk clothing, or maybe it's all natural tree cloth, or something really special like that, that this is like the only place that you could buy it. It's just an interesting idea. Laundry service, sure. I've said before that I thought it would be really cool to have a farm on this property, a working farm that is growing some sort of fruits or salad fixings or something that would make the restaurant really natural and homey and ready to go. And I thought, you know, what if the farm grocer, I know we've got convenience store, but what if the farm grocer included something, you know, it's just a little stand maybe inside the convenience store or outside where you could buy fresh tomatoes, fresh bell peppers, fresh mushrooms, whatever that really looks like. And then all of these kind of got me an idea on mini storefronts. You know, what if we offered up the ability, you know, there's a whole little row of just mini storefronts where people could essentially rent out the micro homes, live as part of the community, and have their own mini storefront that people could just shop at, and they just offer different things. And then, of course, revenue, investor presentation, and investor kit. Because this isn't an actual thing, this is an idea. So I would absolutely want to put together a presentation and a kit so that we could talk with investors to increase the amount of money to actually build the thing, right? That would be the revenue starter revenue. And the kit is something that we could just leave with them. I know that there's a wind blower going on right outside my apartment, so I apologize if this gets a little loud. Next one is awareness. Oh, I want you this week, as you're watching this video, this is this week, think of it that way, I want you to go ahead and think of as many ideas for revenue as possible. I took about 10 minutes just to keep thinking through things. After about 5, it was very slow for me. 5 is really a good area to say, okay, maybe walk away for a half hour and come back with any more ideas I have. But I want you to fill out these sheets with all of the ideas and give it some time. And next week, when I come back, we are going to actually start ranking these things and putting them in an order that makes sense. So that way you can keep brainstorming through this exercise, through this video, through these worksheets, really exploring as much as possible, just emptying your brain, all the different ways that you can create revenue, awareness, and efficiency in what you are building. And when we get to next week, we'll go ahead and start breaking down a lot more of this process. And really, we are in week 7, which means there's 3 weeks left. In each of these weeks, we are pulling pieces together more and more and more so that by week 10, the decisions are very obvious. Your positioning, your strategy is very obvious to you, and you can actually start taking steps in your marketing to move this all forward. So for right now, we're just going to keep thinking of ideas. Love it. Awareness. Well, there's nothing out there on the internet for this entire thing right now. Nothing. So my first idea was, okay, a landing page of some kind, some sort of presence on the web, some sort of something that is out there so that people who are searching, people who are interested, can just join in the conversation, right? Have something that they can read about. And of course, we should have an email capture form on there, and maybe a campaign of 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 or 15 emails, depending on how far along the actual brand is in doing something, so that people can continue to learn more, continue to follow what's going on with the entire project. The next one for awareness, investor kit, because if we have this stuff out, we need to have that investor kit so that they can talk to their friends, or we can share it around to people who would be interested in this sort of project. Notice right now, I'm not thinking awareness in terms of or revenue or efficiency in terms of my audience at all. These steps are very much focused on the business, and that's the reason it's under the different guide for the business priorities. You are thinking about you are thinking about your business, you are thinking about how to make money, keep making money, because businesses have to make money. A business that does not make money is not going to stay in business long. So investor kit. Next one, Google AdWords. Google AdWords and a landing page with an email campaign is the best way to start judging whether your idea is good or not. Because with Google AdWords and awareness and all these things and some social ads, right? Some social accounts. I put social accounts separate from this stuff because with Google, with AdWords, a landing page, and email campaign, you can actually start building a list of people who are interested in the thing that you are offering and determining if there's actual validity to the offer, to the price, to the range, to the entire package that you are building. So this is sort of like the test kit of awareness that helps you start growing. Social accounts take a lot of time to position a brand out there. But if you've already got all this running and you're starting to build a list, social accounts just makes sense. And I put Facebook, Insta, and LinkedIn because I think those are the ones that would be most important or most interesting to people in terms of where they might find this health retreat castle thing online. Magazine ads. There's lots of travel magazines. There's lots of places that people could place ads. I could place ads. Investors could place ads to gauge interest, to drum up excitement. All different reasons. It would be really important to figure out what performance indicators are important to us and about these ads. And the same with TV commercials and internet TV. Netflix doesn't really have commercials, but a lot of the other online channels do. So, maybe there's a place that we could find a decent package or a cable package or something like that that would just get something out there to kind of, again, send people to a landing page. When it comes to awareness, when it comes to building an email list, you don't want to send people to multiple places. You really want to choose one place and funnel as much as possible all the people to that one place so that they sign up only there. When you send people to multiple places, they get confused. They don't know where to click. It gets very confusing. What else do I have on here? Presentation or video. Right? It could be on the landing page. It could be its own separate thing. It could be something that we take to other places and to investor meetings, to networking events. A presentation or video is just a nice thing to have that elevates the quality of your pitch. It elevates the quality of what you're saying by showing words, images, sounds that inspire. You are utilizing more senses than just your voice to appeal to investors or potential audience members, really. And the last one on here, sorry, I skipped over it, is influencers. If you know of influencers that you think would love what you are developing, reach out to them. If you know of people that have a following that would love what you do, reach out to them. Influencers over the last 10 years have increased their yield, their reach, their ability to touch other people by hundreds of times, hundreds of percentage points. And it's its own industry, really. But if you've got something that might benefit, reach out because it could make a huge difference for your business. All right, the last one that I've got here is efficiency. So, what can we do, thinking about it from a business perspective, what can we do that would increase the efficiency of my idea here? Knowing that it's not real, knowing that I would have to go to investors, knowing that there are multiple stages that we would need to move through in terms of development, in terms of planning, before we ever actually launched and got something live, what could we do that would increase efficiency now and here or somewhere along the process in everything? Well, I know right off the bat that if we set up an email sign-up system and a drip campaign with emails that send out, just trying to keep people educated, interested, that would increase efficiency because I don't have to reach out to them a whole lot, and it's something that I could have written once in the campaign, 10 or 15 emails. Maybe they get sent out once a month. Maybe it's just an educational thing. But that way, when someone signs up, we just stay on the top of their mind and keep intriguing them with new ideas, new topics, new things that are going on. The next one is a reservation system or a meeting system so that people can, log on to the website and sign up for their own stay somewhere. And I thought at property, maybe a self-check-in would be interesting. We will absolutely need a cleaning and maintenance system. I don't really know what that looks like. I started just trying to think of what other systems can we implement that would make a difference at the property. And certainly a cleaning or maintenance system, housekeeping, right? Employee training system. You gotta know what employee positions you're gonna need and what each one's job duties, responsibilities are, and how to train people to that system. So we will absolutely need that. An investor journey system. So if somebody, and I put a campaign, if somebody is interested, how do they learn more? How do they find out? So we would need to actually go back to maybe the customer journey sheet and create an entire customer journey that is the investor customer. And maybe I actually have to go back and create a whole other avatar other than my guru guy who is an investor. So that way I would have two people that I understand deeply, that I empathize with as we move through this process. And it would behoove me to go back and recreate this whole thing for the investor, so I know what type of investor I am actually talking to. Investors, they're not carte blanche. I want to give money to everything. Everybody has their own interests, their own risk evaluation, their own way of gauging if they want to participate or not. It's like those sharks on TV. All of those guys have their own niche and their own interests. And the last one on here is a resort system, which I'm sure, I know that places like Holiday Inn, Marriott, Disney resorts, even the resorts down in Mexico, foreign countries, they all have a basic book that is, this is how this property runs. And I'm calling that the resort system. It's just every single step for every single customer that comes in, from the time that they are interested all the way through the time they check out or leave. There is a system, a book that says, how do we treat people? What do we do for them? How do they contact concierge? How do they contact service? Where do they eat? How do they know that? It's really an all-encompassing guide. And pretty much every corporate resort hotel has one of these that tells their staff how the property should run. That is a good SOP as a resort system. So those are the ones that I could think of in terms of the revenue efficiency and awareness for my health resort property. Pen down. I would love to see what you guys have. You take pictures and post it in a group post. For your brand, right? How can you increase revenue for your brand? For example, this just kind of pops in my head. I'm thinking of that woman who's writing the book and is using this process to really flesh out, how to present that book to her specific audience that she has in mind when she wrote it. I said, what other ways can you increase revenue? I don't know. I wrote a book. What do I do? I said, okay, well, you're going to publish in softcover. You could publish a limited edition hardcovers that would cost more. It would be a collector's thing. That would be a great surprise for those people. You could also do an audio book. You could do a poster, maybe an 11 by 17, like a small size poster, or a 24 by 36, which is an average size poster. Just of whatever the cover of the book is to get interest out there. You could do flyers. You can do all kinds of things. What else online? You could offer the book in audio format on different platforms, not just a CD that you could sell. What else? All right, there's lots of different things that surround whatever you're doing that other people are doing for other stuff. So why not copy it and use it for your brand? And that is the perfect opportunity to expand the type of things that you do for your revenue. And the thing that funnels and all of those things teach us today is that people like to make small commitments, small purchases, small alignments with your brand, before investing in larger ones. In fact, the small ones convince people that you know what you're doing and that they can understand what you're doing. Therefore, if they purchase something bigger, it's actually going to help them move farther faster. So, maybe for the book woman, maybe she wants to give away a chapter or two on her website and then post a big old link to the book, because when you give that away, people get intrigued, they get interested, and then they want to read the rest of it, right? And that would be awareness, not revenue. How do you gain awareness? Well, go to my website, read a chapter. If you like it, download the rest of them. The guy who wrote Brand Story, Donald Miller, he has a new book called Business Made Simple, and he has an entire 60-day video series that he gives away on his website, and it's really just the same book broken down into 60 different steps, and he gives it away knowing that people who watch these videos will still probably buy the book, because Donald Miller's a smart guy, and he knows that giving information away in terms of video is awareness for him, and it's also a bit more of revenue as he makes side pitches and sales to different products, different books that he has done, or for his coaching and consulting services. So really, it's a masterful blend, and you should absolutely look at other people who are doing things similar to you, people who are doing things completely different than you, and just stuff off of the wall to get ideas about what else you can do to increase revenue, to increase awareness, to increase efficiency within your own processes. I was just thinking of the random dancing out in public. I forget what it's called. Someone's got to correct me on this, please. When people are out there and doing that, it's usually because they've been paid by somebody to do it, and that is an awareness. That is a guerrilla marketing tactic, getting out and showing everybody a huge something to just improve awareness of what they're ever representing. And that's really the whole point of a lot of awareness, is just getting the name out there. So those three exercises, revenue priorities, efficiency priorities, and awareness priorities, are the three exercises for business alignment. Those are what we are going to next week rank and order to make sure that we understand the priorities for our own marketing, for our own business, for our own goals, and that way we can actually set realistic goals and start moving and taking action on those steps. The difference between intention and action is the actual movement forward. And so much of the time, our brain gets overwhelmed in what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it, that we can't take steps, or we end up taking smaller steps just to be able to keep moving forward. And that's fantastic. But when we have a clear view on the priorities that matter to the brand, that matter to increase revenue, that matter to increase awareness and efficiency, then it's much easier to either hire somebody to help fix those things for you, or to just start taking those steps for yourself. Next week, we're going to jump into the competitive landscape. You're going to look at your competitors, a few of them. You're going to look at some websites that really inspire you, and you're going to really start to think about, how can you distinguish what you're doing from anyone else that is competitive, really, and what they're doing. And then we're going to start to jump backwards, just so you get a little bit view ahead. Then we're going to jump backwards back into those the brand words, and we're going to start refining our choices. We're going to start targeting and honing all of our priorities so that we really strategize into that open zone where it's free for you to just start doing your business, because the competition is so much different, that you stand out, and when you provide the excellent service that I know you're going to provide, then you will be leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else. So, got to do a little sales pitch here. If you're loving what you're doing, and you want to keep doing it here in this free group, absolutely keep doing it. I'm going to keep sharing more parts of this process over the next several weeks. We got 10 steps to finish off this part, which is your brand strategy and your positioning of your brand and your business. And then after that, I'm going to jump into design strategy, which is much more what kinds of pictures will really resonate with your audience and will tell them that you are for them and you know what they need and that you are going to provide it to them. And that is a whole I don't know, probably 8-step process in and of itself. And by the time we get through with all of this stuff, you will be an expert in talking to others, helping them walk through what their brand is for yourself and any project you're working on. You become extremely valuable as a business person because you can use all of these tools to work through a brand, a concept, an idea, a product, a service, and figure out what the right words are for it and the right pictures are for it. And if this is too slow for you and you want to build something, you need to move forward with your business, your plan, whatever that is, I am available for one-on-one work using this exact process. It will be very familiar to you. We can go through the answers you've already got, and we can expand upon that and find more answers, because when you're doing this alone, it's just your perspective, and it's hard to get outside yourself. We cannot read the label from inside the bottle. It's a design thing we used to say. You have to get outside the bottle, which is the reason it takes someone else who's done this before, who understands what it's like to think horizontally and vertically. Think, what's along this path? And okay, what's completely different? And you can apply to work one-on-one with me at my website, thinktankcreative.net. That is thinktankcreative.net. And if you are looking for more than just the words, if you want to figure out the words, the pictures, create a new logo, create new websites, create new everything, that's what I do. That's what I help people do, is to build the business, build the creative pieces that they need to get out into the world, to start being exactly what they need to be. So here we are, friends. Week 7, 3 more weeks to go. I've enjoyed this process so much, sharing it with you. I hope you're getting a ton of value out of this. A whole new way to look at your brand, a whole new way to look at your business, a whole new way to think of doing business with people and really reaching out to create relationships through service. Thank you so much. I appreciate you watching, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.